*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
Hello, good afternoon. This is the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 in Accra, Love 99.5 in Kumasi, affiliate across Ghana's 16 regions, including ATL and Castle FM, Cape Coast, and Jubilee and Sun City Radio Keta. We are live on Twitter Spaces, Facebook live stream, and my Joy Online interactive app. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience. And Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. Coming up, Obuasi East District Security Council says joint military and police team will be maintained at the Anglo-Gold Obuasi mines to ensure illegal miners stuck in the shaft will be arrested once they show up.
They said they will not come unless I promise them that when they come out, they will not be taken to the police. And I cannot give that promise. I said at least you go to the police, you have a statement, you are giving bail.
We are live in Obuasi to get the latest. Plus, a year after the Distraction for Gold documentary, illegal miners have taken over the river tunnel in a renewed onslaught despite a recent crackdown on irresponsible mining close to Samraboy in the western region.
The decimation, the catastrophe that you're leaving behind is shocking. The poisons. It's a travesty.
Also in this package, Supreme Court describes as unconstitutional President Ekufodo's directive asking Daniel Domelovu to proceed on leave when he was Auditor General. We have details. And residents in Gomwa Otreko along the Cape Coast Highway demand immediate government intervention to address what they describe as needless deaths on the stretch.
1st May we had an accident, 2nd May we had an accident, 3rd, 4th May we had an accident, 7th May we had an accident, 12th, 14th we had an accident, 27th we had an accident, and today too there is an accident.
But what could be the cost of the almost daily vehicular accidents on that stretch?
You could see somebody, because his car is new, trying to overtake about 6, 7, 8 cars at a go. This road, I don't know, the indiscipline is too much.
We'll hear from the authorities. And in sports,
we preview Black Princesses U20 semi-final clash with Burkina Faso.
And over 7.4 million SIM cards risk deactivation by midnight today as the clock ticks towards final deadline for SIM cards re-registration in 12 hours.
From us at the close of yesterday, you were looking at around approximately 7.4 million people who are still within this particular bracket.
There's more as the Telco's chamber assures measures are in place to secure funds in mobile money accounts of these SIM cards. We've got details of these plus more here on the Midday News with me, Bernice Abubeidulansa. You want to stay for details. Thanks for your company. The details now. Relative calm has been restored to the mining town of Obuasi after a standoff between a group of illegal miners and a police military team that was called in to maintain order. And this was after some illegal miners were arrested. They invaded one of the underground tunnels of Anglo-Gold Ashanti. It took a reinforced police military team which responded with warning shots to disperse the angry miners who smashed windows and windscreens of buses and a pickup vehicle belonging to the company. The Obuasi East District Security Council says it will maintain a heavy security presence there to ensure illegal miners that are stuck will be arrested once they come out of the pit. Here's Obuasi East DCE Faustina Emisa.
They said they will not come unless I promise them that when they come out, they will not be taken to the police. And I cannot give that promise. I said at least you go to the police, you have to a statement, you are giving bail. Some were willing to come, others said they will not come. They are waiting. So the bus is still there, the gate is open. Anytime any of them is ready, then they will come and join it. So gradually they are coming in big.
And you chair the District Security Council. I believe you've stationed officers at this particular mine to deal with any disturbance.
The divisional commander himself is there with some of them.
You heard that the DCE for Obuasi East, Faustina Emisa. Let's go to Obuasi now. Our man, Ohiming Teria, is there for us. Ohiming, you've been speaking to persons who witnessed what happened yesterday. What more have you been learning?
Then is the information from eyewitnesses and the members of the Small Scale Miners Association, whose members were said to have been trapped in that particular abandoned pit, indicates that these people were not in any way trapped. They had access routes that they could have used to escape from the mining site. But the problem was that they thought that once they come out, the Anglo Ashanti security officers would arrest them. So these accounts have been collaborated by 3 individuals who were at the scene at the time that the DCE, the security agencies, and the officials of the Minerals Commission went there to beg the miners to use the routes available. That actually leads to the Anglo Ashanti Obuasi mine, but they turned their ears and insisted that they wanted to be pardoned before they take any decision to move out of the site.
And so is that to suggest, Ohiming, that they were not there illegally? Are they trying to justify their presence in that part of the Anglo Ashanti's concession?
For the illegal miners, they do admit that their presence in Anglo Ashanti's concession was illegal because they used unapproved means to enter the concession. And when the Anglo Ashanti officials closed that avenue that they used to enter, there were other tunnels available. It is a very big mining tunnel that even two vehicles can even overtake each other. So these were available to them, but they declined to accept that offer. But in the community, residents have been talking about yesterday's incident, of which has also led to the closure of Anglo Ashanti schools in Obuasi here, because according to sources, the officials believe that there could be some reprisal from the illegal miners, and since the school is also in the heart of the community, they took that decision to close it down. Though there are military police presence in the community, I've seen the military personnel patrolling the streets of Obuasi. People are going about their normal duties here, but Anglo Ashanti officials wouldn't want to take chances spending.
Ohiming, just hold on for me. Let me speak to Suleiman Akoni. He's the Chief Executive of the Chamber of Mines. Grateful to have you here this afternoon, sir. You've been in Obuasi. What's your assessment of the situation there?
In fact, it's quite volatile, but as we speak, I know that the situation is calm. It's becoming a nightmare for us as an industry when practically every other month we have such situations like this. So we need the support of everybody to quell such unfortunate situations.
Mr. Connie, earlier this year, I engaged you. A similar situation happened at another mine where they had to cease operations for a couple of weeks, and you were very concerned. In fact, you actually made a direct appeal to government for the presence of military and police people in some of these companies, mining companies. How far have you gone with that appeal to government? Have you received a response?
Well, this is work in progress. I'm sorry, I'm sitting at the airport, but this is work in progress, and we continue to engage with government at various levels. We have requested to meet with the IGP. We continue to engage with national security. At the end of the day, we want appropriate security deployment at the various mines so that they can focus on their core business of mining for the country.
I appreciate your time here. Suleiman Akoni is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Mines. Back to you, Ohiming. Do we know how many people are still trapped or are still stuck, as we've been asked to say now, in the pit?
Ben, the number keeps changing, but according to information I have picked from the Small Scale Miners Association, the police sources, and independent sources. 83 people voluntarily came out of the pit yesterday, 83, and they were taken to the police station where they write their statements. But as we speak, I'm told some number of the illegal miners are in there, but our sources say they may not be up to 300, but around, if you add the 83 plus what is left in the pit, there could be about 100.
So, Ben, they are saying that following our previous statements yesterday, an additional 79 unauthorized individuals safely exited the Obuasi mine underground yesterday. The individuals who had entered the underground area without authorization walked out of the mine through the main exit point of their own accord and are in the custody of the Ghana Police Service. No injuries were reported. We are grateful for the collaborative effort of our security personnel and the police in ensuring the safe and orderly exit of these individuals. It is important to reiterate that the main exit ramp from the mine, which is remote from the current active working area of the mine, remains open, allowing any unauthorized persons underground to exit at any time. Those who may still be underground are strongly encouraged to utilize the designated exit points where public security personnel remain on standby. The safety and security of our employees and community members remains our topmost priority.
So you had the editor, Elton Brobe, sharing with us details from Anglo Gold Ashanti, and that's an update to the situation there. Let's stay a while on illegal mining. A year after the Distraction for Gold documentary, illegal miners have taken over River Tunnel in a renewed onslaught on the already polluted major water source. Now, this is despite a recent crackdown on irresponsible mining close to Samraboy in the Western region. The Environmental Protection Agency reviews disturbing levels of mercury concentration in the river at the Samraboy catch point. Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko is back there a year after he exposed illegal mining activities polluting River Tunnel. Here's what he found.
Love News in 2022 captured Akunta Mining Limited and other illegal miners polluting the Tunnel River at Samraboy in the Western region. A year after producing the Distraction for Gold documentary, we went back to Samraboy to gauge the situation on the ground. Ofosua Sare Samuel is the assembly member for the Mumuni electoral area.
After your last documentary, those that they were in operation, they left the site. They are no more here or destroying the land.
But our tour of the adjoining villages along the tunnel revealed disturbing pictures of direct active mining in the Tunnel River with residues directed into the tunnel. Chinese miners were spotted at Boya, a farming community, driving the excavators and operating the mine themselves, contrary to mining regulations.
You heard Lava Firm's Erastus Asari Donko. They're away from illegal mining activities. The Supreme Court has, in a unanimous decision described as unconstitutional, the directive from the presidency that asked former Auditor General Daniel Domelovo to proceed on leave. The court also described as unconstitutional the president's appointment of an acting Auditor General while there was a substantive Auditor General. It will be recalled that the presidency in July 2020 asked then Auditor General Daniel Domelovo to proceed on leave. When Mr. Domelovo pointed this out as unlawful, his leave was further extended from 123 days to 167 days. 9 civil society groups sued the Attorney General over these directives, and after more than 2 years, the court agrees with them. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akablay joins us with more. So, Joseph, basically, what does this decision mean? We know Mr. Domelovo has since retired.
Yes, and so the court did not make any consequential orders as a result of its conclusion. In fact, the CSOs had asked that the presidency or his agents should be restrained from seeking to enforce that directive, i.e., forcing the Auditor General to take his leave or to surrender any of his power or function to another person. They had also asked that the president be restrained from exercising a constitutional power or perform a constitutional function, allowing someone to exercise such functions of the Auditor General without authorization from the Auditor General himself, and any other consequential orders. These 3 released, the court said that it could not grant them because they were moot. We know that one, Mr. Demelovo has since actually retired per the date that he said was the rightful date for his own retirement. And so that was why the court did not do that. But nonetheless, the declarations is what is very crucial at this stage because it will guide governments going forward. And the court has stated clearly that the nature of the Office of the Auditor General is such that the presidency cannot be issuing such letters to ask the Auditor General to proceed on leave. Again, it cannot appoint someone to act as acting Auditor General when there's a substantive Auditor General. And so those are the key declaratory reliefs that the court announced today.
And was there any response from the civil society groups that went to court or the Attorney General himself?
No, not from the Attorney General's office, except the acknowledgement of the decision in open court. For the civil society organizations, they were not present here. Their lawyer, Martin Kobby, was present, and he simply says that they are happy about this decision, and in due course, the CSOs will be issuing a statement and commenting on this particular matter.
Stay with me, Joseph, because the Supreme Court again has, in a unanimous decision, declared as unconstitutional the law that allowed government to impose restrictions during the COVID-19 pandemic. Parliament in 2020 passed the Imposition of Restrictions Act to allow restrictions provided for in Article 21 of Ghana's 1992 Constitution to be enforced. Law professor and human rights advocate Kojo Appiagyei, along with 8 others, decided to go to court. They dragged government to the Supreme Court, contending the said law was unconstitutional. He further contended it unlawfully empowered the president to unilaterally suspend fundamental human rights and freedoms in the whole or a part of Ghana. Joseph, so how would the court have preferred such restrictions to be imposed?
So Justice Jones Doche indicated that the gateway to emergency powers was Article 31 of the Constitution and 32, and these were the provisions that they had made the arguments to. They had made a point that provided an elaborate procedure for restrictions to be imposed in a manner that does not suspend human rights entirely and also does not give the presidency more or less a blank check to issue any such restrictions on fundamental human rights when they deem fit. And so Professor Appiagyei, who filed this particular matter, tells us that he's excited that the court agreed with his arguments.
Means that the law which was passed in the first place was illegal. It was unconstitutional. It shouldn't have been passed because there were sufficient provisions in the Constitution to direct how the emergency should have been organized. We also made reference to the Public Health Act, which also gives an idea of how emergency should be organized in case there's a public health emergency in the
Law professor and human rights advocate Kojo Appiagyei. We shift our focus away from the court. If you haven't registered your SIM card, this story should interest you. In less than 12 hours, 7.4 million SIM cards which have not been linked to Ghana cards will be deactivated by the National Communication Authority, the NCA. According to the Chamber of Telecommunications, this figure includes SIM cards that have gone through only one stage or the first stage of the registration process and those that have not been linked to the Ghana card at all. The chamber says the 7.4 million cards will not be able to make phone calls and SMS or any financial transactions. Dr. Ken Ashigbe is Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Telcos.
Timeline given was that by the end of today, if you have not registered at all, completed your SIM registration at all, then you would be deactivated. Your number you'll be barred. So from tomorrow, you will not be able to make a call. You will not be able to receive a call. You will not be able to do SMSs. You will not be able to do data services. You will not have access to your mobile money.
Well, Dr. Ken Ashigbe assures that all funds in the mobile money wallets of these numbers that will be deactivated will be secured with the Bank of Ghana for onward reclamation by owners.
Then what they will do is that the money will be put into a particular account. So what would happen is that if you need to go and retrieve it, you would have to go and provide evidence, and the money will be given to you. But you will not be able to transfer money using your mobile money account again. But you will not, working together with the central bank, your money will be set aside for you in a particular wallet. So you will be able to get access to it, but you will not be able to transact mobile money businesses.
Dr. Ken Ashigbe is Chief Executive Officer of the Telco's Chamber. Meanwhile, the National Identification Authority says it has successfully registered more than 17 million Ghanaians with a projected target of capturing an additional 2 million within the next 3 months. This is pending the release of funds for its operations. Speaking to the media amidst a sense of urgency among citizens striving to obtain their cards before today's deadline for the SIM card re-registration exercise, Chief Executive of the NIA, Professor Ken Atefo, affirmed that once sufficient funding is provided, the authority aims to complete the registration process for all Ghanaians aged 15 and above within a maximum of 3 months. Now to other stories. Brace yourself to pay more for electricity and water beginning tomorrow. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission earlier this month approved an upward adjustment of electricity and water tariffs for the second quarter of 2023. In taking this decision, the Commission said it took into recognition the cost of electricity, increased volume cost of chemicals for raw water treatment, the Ghana cedi US dollar exchange rate, and inflation. Director of Research and Corporate Affairs at the PURC, Dr. Eric Obute, says the decision was taken to balance and prevent extended power outages and their adverse implications on jobs and livelihoods.
Last time round, we used an exchange rate of 10.54 cedis to the dollar. This time round, the projected exchange rate is 12.71 cedis to the dollar. The weighted average cost of gas, which we call the WACO, has also shot up. These two factors alone have necessitated an increase, however small it may be.
So you heard that Dr. Obute, he is Director of Research and Corporate Affairs at the PURC. Raymond Aqua with our research desk joins me in studio for more on this. Raymond, PURC is alluding to some savings to be made from these adjustments. Share more with us.
Now, the very first point is that the second quarter tariff decision of 18.36% for electricity helps to fully recover 100% of the inflationary effect. The second one is also 100% of the gas price effect and 50% of the exchange rate effect. Now, let's break it down one by one. Why are these ones important? For the price of gas, the weighted average cost has seen a 7% from the first quarter to the second quarter. So that increase is what is being catered for here. The second contributing factor is the source of energy. Now we have an hydrothermal mix, which has changed a little bit. It used to be, for the second quarter, previously, it was 26% for hydro and 73% for thermal, which meant thermal is more expensive than hydro, which meant that we're paying more. But now it's 29% for hydro and 70% for thermal. This brought down the tariff by some 2.5% and actually beat it out a little bit. The third factor is inflation. The actual average inflation for the first quarter was 50.47%. Again, if this is divided by 4, we get an inflation figure of 12.62%. This means that the inflation effect for the second quarter will be some 12.62% higher than that of the first quarter, which was 10.66%. So the change needed to be catered for. Now, the new electricity tariffs are also to recoup an amount of 1.3 billion over the next quarter. So if we do not increase it, we will be accruing more debt in that sector. Don't forget, we say that we want to reform that particular area and reduce the debt in the sector. That's what the PURC is actually saying here.
That's Raymond Aqua of our research desk. You're listening to the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Bernice Abu Bedulansa. Well, much earlier we brought you that story from Anglo-Gold Ashanti's Obuasi mine, where we understand that some people are still stuck in the pit. Well, the company says that there is an approved route for them to use. But still to come, cured leper whose plight attracted the benevolence of Vice President Dr. Bawumia dies 3 years after Joy News highlighted her poor living condition.
People here in Ghana and in the world, we should take care of the very poor and the vulnerable. In her state, she is not able to work.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn, bath, chop, where it vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You not get one drop safe inside your tank.
Hey.
Haja, our life was in dangerous. Only our neighbor gets water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank get meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selenium. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe. So say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! As my boss, Mr. Poncho, go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank. By Duraplast.
Thank you for staying on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Bernice Abubedulansa. Mishael is here with the latest from the world of sports.
Ghana's Black Princesses are oozing confidence only hours before taking on Burkina Faso in the WAFU BU20 tournament. Reaching the final will guarantee Ghana's U20 girls its spot in the next edition of the Women's U20 AFCON tournament. But beating Burkina Faso is not expected to be easy, as they have so far scored the second most goals in the tournament. Nevertheless, Yusuf Basigi, Princesses head coach, believes his side are the better team.
When we look at their group, the teams that they played, and so there is no news they having many goals than us, because Niger, they were in the same group with Niger, right? So looking at it, definitely they scored 8 goals against Niger, and they are also conceding many goals. How many goals have we conceded so far? Only 1. That tells you that in terms of organization, in defense, midfield, and attack, we will be sharper in attack and then better in defense than them. Love prepared.
So while Burkina Faso have lost the game, the Princesses are unbeaten and have the 3rd most goals in the tournament. The game could be a spectacle and kicks off at 3 p.m.
Right. Thank you so much, Michelle. Now, residents along the Gomwa-Otreko stretch of the Cape Coast Highway are demanding immediate government intervention to address what they describe as the needless deaths on the roads. 16 people lost their lives yesterday when a Yutong bus and a fuel tanker collided, resulting in a deadly crash. We will hear from residents shortly, but first, more survivors of Monday's road crash at that place are sharing distressful details of how a fuel tanker rammed into their bus, killing some passengers, including a baby. Maxwell Agbagba has more.
I am at the bus terminal where the driver of the U-turn bus was headed. Here, I've met an executive member of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, Bob Hagan. He lost his friend, Clement Ejapon, and 2 others. He was at the morgue to see them.
Yesterday, he called around 8 o'clock in the morning that he had a libo, Clement Ejapon's body. One leg, one hand, the body had been divided.
One of the people who died in the crash, Clement Ejapon, worked with Babs Transport. Emmanuel Ejapon is the secretary of the company. He says dual carriageways or divided highways save lives.
That is all we want for now. That is exactly what we want. Because, I can't just leave home to feed home and all this happens. So our plea to the government is that road, the Accra Cape Coast road should be dual carriage.
Maxwell Agbaba with that report. Now, some residents along the stretch where the accident occurred yesterday say they've lost count of the number of incidents recorded in this month of May alone.
Record more casualties. If I should tell you, per record that I have, this very month of May, 1st May we had an accident, 2nd May we had an accident, 3rd, 4th May we had an accident, 7th May we had an accident, 12th, 14th we had an accident, 27th we had an accident, and today too there is an accident. It tells you that something should be done as far as this place is concerned.
Heavyweight, Ntamaya kwanu bebre udu even from soldier phone wa kwakwampona kwana muchimonka.
You had some residents there. Now, Commander of the Winneba Fire Service, DO2 Kwesi Hughes, blames over speeding and disregard for road regulations for the incidents of accidents on that stretch. Now, a group of motor riders have massed up at the Kanewu police station in Tema to demand the release of a driver arrested by the police for knocking down a motorbike rider last night. The riders say they want to exact their own justice on the suspect. Expect more on this in subsequent bulletins. And before we go, a cured leper whose poor living condition attracted the benevolence of Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia 3 years ago has died. A Joy News Hotline documentary, Withered Skins by Seth Kwame Boateng, revealed Madame Poga was left destitute by leprosy. Living on the outskirts of Grungu in the Upper West region, she was forced to live in a dilapidated 5-meter by 6 mud hut with her granddaughter Ajara after losing 4 of her 10 children and being abandoned by the rest. Her situation changed when Vice President Dr. Baboon Baumia saw the documentary. Here's a report by Rafiq Salam.
Joy News Seth Kwame Boateng in a hotline documentary titled Withered Skins highlighted the squalid and dehumanizing conditions she has been living under at an outlandish Motoro community. Darapoko contracted leprosy at an early age and as a result had all 10 fingers and toes except the big ones chopped off. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia was touched when he watched the documentary and directed Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali to donate some food items and 2,000 Ghana cedis for her upkeep, and secondly, construct a modest house for her. Construction of the 2-bedroom house, hall, and other ancillary facilities took off immediately after the donation, and within 7 weeks, the house was ready for the octogenarian to live a once loved, jaded, death-trap mud-built structure that will not even pass for pen for animals in peri-urban areas.
And just to see the smile on her face with her grandchild Ajara, who is here, really brings so much pleasure.
So that report was brought to you 3 years ago. Madame Poga has since passed on, and the Vice President in a social media post said he received with sadness the death of my 85-year-old friend, Madame Dare Pogo, a cured leper whose deplorable conditions in Gurungu Motori in the Wawes municipality became a national conversation, and I provided her with a 2-bedroom house. I thank God for being able to put a smile on her face in the last years of her life. May Madame Dare's soul rest in peace. And that was a tweet by Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. And in this edition of the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Bernice Abu Beidulansa. You can log on to myjoyonline.com for more news, including ECG discovers 33 structures illegally connected to national grid by one customer in the Tema region. The Midday News was brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience, and Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. Thanks for your company once again. Do stay. Pastor Menso Trouble is next with Living Word.